Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of this F1 25 Joshua Pearce career mode. This is part 46 of the series. If you did miss the last episode, it was the first episode of season 4 and it was one where we welcomed it with a Sonny Hayes win at the Australian Grand Prix ahead of my teammate Lando Norris and Charles Leclerc rounding out the podium for Ferrari, who seem to usually do alright in Melbourne, and as per usual, there was a Ferrari on that podium. And for myself in the Australian Grand Prix, it was a decent recovery drive, but we can't be doing those recovery drives just like we said in last season, so we are on the hunt to try and turn things around very, very quickly after our P6 finish last time around. Looking at the Drivers' Championship after that first race, it was Sonny Hayes leading the way by 7 points to Lando Norris, then Leclerc in third, 3 points behind Lando, and then myself in 6th position, 2 points behind Franco Colapinto, and Apex GP, they lead the Constructors' Championship by 11 points to McLaren, then it's Ferrari in third, 5 points further behind. And we're going to take a look immediately at the chassis department as well. It's a minor brake upgrade with trialing a new material for the brake pads, and this will hopefully increase the brake pressure we can use and also increase the resilience of the pads to help us go faster around the circuit. And this will just be a standard development because both the standard and the rushed options come in before Bahrain, and if this does succeed, it will put our chassis above any other team, which is going to be absolutely huge in the hunt to try and chase down Apex GP. And also, for the second race weekend in a row, we have mixed weather conditions, but this time it will affect the competitive sessions, being there is a splash of rain added into the sprint race, but luckily the practice sessions will be dry. And heading into the Chinese Grand Prix race weekend, Apex GP haven't brought any upgrades, which is good news for the rest of the field. But look at how close it is between Ferrari, McLaren and Red Bull Ford, because there is absolutely nothing separating us. And then Alpine, Williams and Racing Bull Fords also bring upgrades for the first sprint race weekend of the season. So let's get straight into it.
Welcome along to Shanghai, ladies and gentlemen, where it's Chinese Grand Prix weekend. But before we can race, we need to qualify. And who's going to take that coveted pole position? How will our grid line up? We're about to find out. Welcome to qualifying.
It's the first sprint race weekend of the season, and we've got a couple this season coming up. But this one previously has proved very well for ourselves in our debut season. Very nearly got the win with Apex GP and previously have got pole positions around here. And as sprint qualifying 1 comes to a close, it's Ocon fastest ahead of Paul Aaron, then it's Oscar Piastri third, only 1/1000th further behind, myself in 8th, and Lando Norris in 13th, a further 3/10ths behind. But knocked out is Liam Lawson by 400ths, Zane Maloney, Pierre Gasly, Isaac Hadjo makes it both the Racing Bull Fords here, Carlos Sainz and Jack Doohan not making it to this next part of qualifying. You can see here, the Apex GP cars absolutely flying. Sonny Hayes goes fastest once again. We set through another lap, and that was going to be our only lap as well, with Leclerc now fastest by nearly half a second ahead of Sonny Hayes. The Ferraris have absolutely been rapid so far. Piastri's in third, Norris in fourth, and myself scraping through in P10 by only 0.02 of a second, but knocked out as Colapinto, Antonelli, Bortoletto, Stroll, Albon, and Paul Aaron not making it to the final part of sprint qualifying, where we work out who's going to be on sprint pole. And that is exactly not how you're going to get it done. Locking up the rears going into the corner, and that is going to ruin my lap. And also on the exit of this sweeper here, going onto the very long back straight, got a caught on the curb and kind of skateboarded out of that corner there. And that just means that Oscar Piastri is actually going to overtake us on our qualifying lap. So this has been absolutely horrendous, and we've now made contact with him at the hairpin as well. So this has been an absolute shocking lap. We only had the one lap to get done because there's only the one lap of softs. One set of softs. And so where is this going to put us? It's going to be P10. So not very good, but we're not too far away from getting points. Oscar Piastri, he's going to be on sprint pole position by 4/10ths to his teammate Sonny Hayes, making an Apex GP front row lockout. Leclerc's in third, a further 3/10ths behind. Norris in fourth, and myself 10th, 3 seconds off the pace.
Forget pit stops, forget fuel management. It's pedal to the metal all the way here as we get ready for today's sprint. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting sprint. Oscar Piastri lines up on pole position, and Sonny Hayes completes the front row. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Leclerc, Norris, and Sir Lewis Hamilton, and Ocon, Behrman, Russell, Verstappen, Pearce, Colapinto, Antonelli, Gabriel Bortoleto and Stroll, Albon, Aaron, Liam Lawson and Zayn Maloney, Gasly, Hadjar, Sainz and Jack Doohan rounds off the grid. Which of these drivers will get pole position today? We'll soon find out.
Okay, let's have a comms check, please. Radio check. Okay, we've got that relief of having points on the board finally, so let's keep that form up and get another top 10 finish today, please.
I think Mark has forgotten that the sprint race today will only reward points for the top 8. So that's the goal for the strategy, and it will be the medium compound tyre for this race. So top 8 is what we're aiming for. We're only 2 spots away, so let's see if we can't climb up and get those positions, because it's lights out and we're off for the sprint race here in Shanghai, and it's a alright start, but not as good as Kimi Antonelli's start. He's trying to make it 3 wide heading into turn 1. They're 3 wide in front of us. Where are we expected to go? We hug it right to the curb and try and split the gap, and we've made it up the inside of about 3 cars, but now we're 3 wide once again. It's 3 wide absolutely everywhere. Going out of turn 2, we're still on the very outside, but it's so dirty out that we can't get the power down, so we lose those positions to Ocon and George Russell, but late on the brakes, very brave on the brakes. We're going to send it down the inside and get those 2 positions back. And I've just noted as well, George Russell on the soft compound tyre, so let's see how he fares with that tyre, because on the strategy, you may have seen that the soft was an option, but they're actually recommending that if we went onto the soft compound tyre, we make a pit stop to try and get to the end of the race. So hence why nearly everyone is on the medium compound tyres. And so if Russell can make it to the end on a soft, that's going to be very, very well indeed. Good driving to get that one to the checkers. But well, we're still in P6, so we're a little bit behind Lewis Hamilton. We're 8/10 behind Hamilton, so we're still within DRS, but we have to make sure we get to that control line to start lap 2, still within a second, and then hold it all the way to that corner we just came out of where the detection point is, because that is going to be crucial, because I feel like with the pace that we showed in qualifying, if I fall out of the DRS, I might be a little bit cooked. And you can see here, we've done exactly what we were after, and that is to stay within the DRS of Lewis Hamilton, which means that it's a little bit more tougher for Ocon to try and get himself past us. So we're able to move it to the middle of the track. We're able to try and halt the progress of that Red Bull Ford, and that is exactly what we've been able to do. We still hold that 6th position. Ocon's still stuck in that 7th position, but behind it's George Russell trying to get himself around the other Red Bull Ford. Sorry, that is the Red Bull Ford of Esteban Ocon. So we've been able to break away just a little bit there. His focus has gone from attacking us to now defending this position. Is Russell going to be able to make the move? He can, using those soft tyres with great effect, and now he moves up into that 7th position to try and chase us down. And with the timing of the DRS, Ocon, he doesn't have anything to defend himself, so he possibly could lose the position here to Max Verstappen in the Aston Martin Honda. Verstappen on the inside with his old team on the outside, which turns now into the inside. Is he going to be able to make this move stick? Because it will be a very brave move if he can get it done, but Ocon will hold on to the 8th position, but Verstappen looking very pacey so far in this sprint race, with Ocon now looking to try and use that DRS so that he missed out on going down the main straight and nearly lost that position. He's using it to get himself back past George Russell, and behind you can see as well Verstappen under attack from Oliver Behrman in the rebranded Haas Toyota car. So Toyota this season bringing much more sponsorship and backing to the Haas outfit, and you can see there with the GR logo very prominent on the side of that car. But he can't get his way around Max Verstappen just yet, though. He's got a very good run heading down the main straight. Is he going to be able to make the move around the outside? Verstappen on the inside. It will give the Verstappen the outside though, because it's really a net negative to be on the inside at turn 1, because now look at this, Behrman got the inside for turn 2 because he hung it around the outside, but they're still side by side. Verstappen's had a brilliant exit, and going into turn 4, how is this going to work out? Verstappen on the inside, is he going to be able to shuffle out Oliver Behrman? He looks like he might just be able to do it, and Verstappen will hold on to that position, but you can see that he's now fallen out of the DRS from George Russell, so that now leaves him very vulnerable down the back straight to another attack from Oliver Behrman, as he now finds himself trying to get this position once more away from Max Verstappen, but Verstappen using all of those years of racing to great effect to be able to hold off the very fast charging Oliver Behrman. He has shown some great pace. He's not in the points because remember he has to get to that top 8 for it to be points, but look at that, the move that he's just pulled off into turn 1 to get himself now up into 9th. Unfortunately though, he's facing a very similar problem that we're seeing up and down the field at the moment, which is you can make the move but you lose so much time making the move that you fall out of DRS of the next car, which now means going down the back straight he was once again a sitting duck and loses that position to Verstappen once more. And this is interesting here. Mark now telling us the rain is 15 minutes away, so that's not going to affect this race because we've only got 3 and a bit laps remaining of this sprint race. So but knowing that there is weather on the way, so if there was a very late race, red flag or something, we could be in a little bit of trouble with the weather. And that's a car turned around, and who is it? It's George Russell facing the wrong way. And there might be a traffic jam as well because look at the flow of cars coming through. There's no one moving, and look at this. There is a massive traffic jam, and I was just talking about a red flag, but nothing has been thrown. Absolutely nothing. So how have we got away with this? We've got away with, what was that? Like maybe 8 cars parked at this hairpin. So Russell just on the throttle, trying to get a good exit out of there, lit it up on the throttle, and look at it, all the cars start piling through. And unfortunately, Mandel's on a charge. Oliver Behrman, he's the first one to kind of get stuck there and very smartly stops himself before making contact to avoid any damage. But we now look back towards the front because the front hasn't really had too much going on. Everyone kind of spread it out and knew that there wasn't massive points on for this sprint race. But Lando Norris and Lewis Hamilton are now going at it. It's a McLaren versus Ferrari. Once more, is Hamilton going to be able to get himself past our teammate and get himself up to that 4th position? And he can get it done down into turn 4. And he gets the move done. It was all done through turns 1 and 2, and he finished it off down at turn 4. Unfortunately, though, for Gabriel Bortoleto, further behind in 13th position, nowhere near the points in his Audi, and also held up in that incident down at the hairpin. He has now got himself a mechanical issue and very promptly moves himself off of the racing circuit, and we once more avoid any sort of stoppage. And now we have got 1 lap remaining to try and hold on to this 6th position that we have in this sprint race. And look at that, Ocon is right up behind us now. He has got all the way back, and how have we held on to that? We lost the rear end. It was a massive snap of oversteer trying to get the power down onto the exit. And look at this, he's going to breeze absolutely past us, but we're still on the overtake button. We now come off of it. Are we going to be able to try and take a send? It's a very, very late dive. We've got it all locked up. Ocon has to take avoiding action. We come back onto the racetrack. We're side by side. Oscar Piastri, he's won the race. He's won the sprint race. We send it down the inside once more, and we are going to hold on to that 6th position. That was a bit of desperation, I must say so myself, right there at the end, but we got it done. And by the time the checkered flag falls, it is Oscar Piastri, and he actually leads an Apex GP 1-2 into the sprint race, and it was Charles Leclerc rounding off the podium for Ferrari, then Hamilton, Norris, myself in 6th position, and then it was Ocon and Verstappen rounding out the points.
Welcome along to Shanghai, ladies and gentlemen, where it's Chinese Grand Prix weekend. But before we can race, we need to qualify. And who's going to take that coveted pole position? How will our grid line up? We're about to find out. Welcome to qualifying.
The last qualifying session did not go very well. We were in qualifying 3, but we were also 3 seconds away from pole position, so we kind of need to work on that a little bit better. Now, first flying lap here on the soft compound tyres, it was purple, green, green, and by the time the checkered flag falls, it's Piastri fastest ahead of Esteban Ocon. That's Colapinto in 3rd, a further 2 tenths behind, Lando Norris in 5th, 7 tenths behind, myself in 14th, 1.7 seconds off the pace, but knocked out is both the Racing Bull Fords of Lawson ahead of the Hadjar, then Gasly, Albon, Maloney, and Jack Doohan not making it to the final, this next part of qualifying. And as we cross the line, we now go 4th position, but that's a decent gap. It was 7 tenths of a second to 2nd position, and you can see now we're starting another flying lap, but there is raindrops going down on my visor, so there's a little bit of weather hanging around at the moment. And just look at the amount of understeer we've already got going through turn 1 and turn 2. We've already gone 4 tenths down on our previous lap time, And so I'm going to call it there because I don't think anyone else is going to be able to improve, and no one does. And so it's going to be Ocon fastest by 2/10 to Lewis Hamilton, and then it is going to be Charles Leclerc in third, a further half a second behind, Lando Norris in fifth, a further 4/10 behind, and myself in sixth, only a 10th behind Lando, but knocked out is Antonelli by 6/10, Colapinto, Bortoletto, Russell makes both the Mercedes out, Verstappen and Oliver Behrman not making it to qualifying 3 here in Shanghai. And I'm just showing you this here because you can see there, the team is recommending the wet weather tyres based off what we just saw in the last session. It did say it was clear skies, but we know the track can keep some moisture in it, even though it's sunny out. And when I hit the circuit, it is 100% dry, and even Mark is now telling me that we should have gone out on the dry compound tyres. So we're going to swing it back into the pit lane, and now that we've come out on dries, so we've got at least the dries correct, it's a set of used tyres. So I'm now contemplating to myself, what do I do? Because I've only got the time to go for one lap. So if I go for this lap here, I am committed to going for this lap. But if I pull in, which I now do, I should have enough time to come into the lane and swap out for another set of soft compound tyres. Brand new soft compound tyres, mind you, as well. And so with only about 30 seconds left on the clock, this is going to be our one and only attempt to get a lap in. And you can see it's already off to a not great start, going super wide through turn 1. Leclerc is setting the pace at the moment. Then it's Hayes immediately toppling that time, and then Hamilton. The times are toppling here in Shanghai. Ocon has now gone fastest with a very low 1 minute 31. I think it was a 31.2. So we have got a very high bar set for ourselves at the moment. But we've gone purple in the first sector. The checkered flag is now out. So whatever happens on this lap, it is what it is going to be. So it's purple in the first sector. This is looking alright at the moment. The car is feeling fairly gripped up. A little bit of mistake there, using a bit too much curb on the exit, but we get the power down nice and early. Back on the overtake button. What does the second sector look like? It's purple again. I haven't said a purple middle sector so far all weekend. So we are absolutely on one. All we've got to do is get the power down early here and get that done. Complete. Check. Now, we have to try and get ourselves very late, so late on the brakes. Down at the hairpin to gain as much time as possible, but it can't be too late because it's going to be very easy to run wide and absolutely throw away this lap. At the 100-meter point, we hit the brakes, we hit the anchors, we use a little bit of curb to try and help turn it around this very, very tight hairpin, and we've still got a little bit of battery left for the run to the line. We use a little bit of curb on the inside, keep it within the track limits, and what's it going to do as we cross the line? And it's pole position!
You've got pole position!
That was not a pole position I was expecting to get for this Chinese Grand Prix. And we got it done by 0.06 of a second, so there's absolutely nothing in it ahead of Esteban Ocon. Lewis Hamilton's third, 2/10 behind, with the championship leader Sonny Hayes alongside him. And then Lando Norris is down in P6. He's 0.6 away, but sharing his row with another Apex GP car and former teammate Oscar Piastri.
The Chinese Grand Prix, then, is upon us once again. It's a race that saw Michael Schumacher claim his final Formula One victory in 2006, as well as Red Bull's first win with Sebastian Vettel in 2009. There's no doubt there's plenty more drama to come here in Shanghai. Shanghai International Circuit, then, is a 16-corner high-speed thrill ride. The long and ever-tightening right-hander at turns 1 and 2 tests a driver's patience, and the flat, open to the elements location, test their skill in a crosswind. 2 DRS zones will assist passing, and they're available into turn 1 and down the kilometre-long back straight into turn 14. So with the race not far away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. Joshua Pearce lines up on pole position, with Esteban Ocon alongside. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Hamilton, Hayes, Oscar Piastri and Norris, Leclerc, Sainz, Aaron and Lance Stroll, Antonelli, Colapinto, Gabriel Bortoletto and Russell, Verstappen, Behrman, Liam Lawson and Isaac Hadjar, Gasly, Albon, Maloney and Jack Doohan rounds off the grid. And now it's time to head down to the track. And alongside me today, a man who I'm always pleased to see join me in the commentary box, Anthony Davidson. I know what we've got to do before the start of today's race, but what about our driver? What do the final hours look like for them?
Well, for them, you've got your pre-race rituals that you go through. You see different drivers that, some have got their headphones on, they're listening to the music. Some drivers really absorb the energy from the crowd and they're there waving to them. Other drivers, they go within themselves. They chat to their engineers, absorbing that information, that vital information that you need to carry you through the race. And, those pre-race rituals are essential to making things systematic. We do a lot of Grand Prix in a season, and the more systematic you can be, the easier you are within that environment.
Okay, radio check, radio check. Okay, we've got that relief of having points on the board finally, so let's keep that form up and get another top 10 finish today, please.
So we have given ourselves the best chance possible of getting a victory by starting out in front, but I'm worried because in the sprint race, the race pace wasn't quite there, but hopefully with the chance of controlling the race pace here today by being out in front, I can make something work. And as for the strategy, it's looking like the one stop and starting on the mediums is going to be the way to go. And so we are getting ready. It's lights out and we're off for the Chinese Grand Prix. 28 laps ahead of us of pure action, and we are off to a thrilling start, and it is an easy turn one for ourselves. We had the best start possible, breaking away from the rest of the pack, but look how scuffly it is in the back. This is what we were in last time around in the sprint race, starting from P10, but this time we've got pole position. We've got nothing but clear track in front of us. We can't even see another car in front of us, and look at this, the Apex GP cars already carving their way through the field. They're up to P4 and P5 respectively, and it's Sonny Hayes trying to get himself immediately up onto the podium. Can he get it done from Lewis Hamilton? No, he can't. At least not quite yet. Oscar Piastri in 5th position, Lando Norris, Charles Leclerc, Carlos Sainz down in 8th position at the moment in his Williams, and that's Paul Aaron scoring points as it stands for Aston Martin Honda, and Franco Colapinto in position 10 for the second Red Bull Ford. But towards the end of lap 1 here, you can see I'm already a sitting duck down the main straights, even without the DRS being activated yet. We get it up on the curb, we get it all taily, but we managed to get the power down, and with a little bit of grip advantage there, we were able to pull away from Ocon, but I don't think we're going to be able to hold on to this for very long, because now, look at this, down the main straight, going side by side into turn 1. How's this going to go? With Ocon hanging around the outside, the Red Bull Ford, what can it do? Absolutely nothing, because we have got the pace through the corner to get ourselves through there and hold on to the lead. But further behind, look at this, it's Carlos Sainz versus Paul Aaron, Aston Martin Honda versus Williams Mercedes, and are they going to be able to pull this off any further? Carlos has got an excellent exit out of turn 2 and through the king of turn 3. Is he going to be able to do anything through turn 4 around the outside? He's going to have to get really good exit and really good traction here to try and pull himself further up alongside of the Aston Martin Honda there. Oh, Paul Aaron sweeps around the outside to hold on to that position, but as we saw in the sprint race earlier, this is going to be the course of today's race, I reckon it is. It's going to be a case of how well can I manage my ERS, because we're already a little bit further down. We're down to 37% on my steering wheel. How are we going to manage the ERS, and how are we going to manage where we position ourselves when it comes to the defending into that hairpin? Because if we lose the positions we have seen through the sprint, I'm just going to slowly fall away a little bit, because I lost ground to the cars in front of me immediately when I started battling. And this is what I mean by I can kind of control the pace. So by holding onto this lead, I can kind of stop the progress of everyone else through the field, hopefully. But unless you're Oscar Piastri, because catching me completely unawares, he's just going to send it down the inside. Luckily for us, though, I'm going to get the power down much better than Oscar can at this part of the race. And so we hold on to it. But with the aid of DRS, look at that. There is absolutely no way I can stop that. Like, what am I meant to do with that? That Apex GP car. Well, props to them. They've built an absolute weapon of a car, but it is so annoying to race against at the moment, especially when it's in the hands of someone as good as Oscar Piastri. But behind us, look at this. It's Franco Colapinto, Esteban Ocon, and he's been able to hold on to that position, but it's Colapinto being able to get himself ahead of Paul Aaron because he's too busy battling it out with Carlos Sainz, and so they've both lost a position to the Red Bull Ford there. But Aaron immediately get himself back in front of Franco Colapinto. But now heading back on board with myself here, we are an absolute sitting duck and we're 3 wide. We're in the middle of Esteban Ocon and Sonny Hayes. Are we going to be able to get through? We can! And how do we get back out in front of the both of them? We've absolutely played them both and we've held on to the position. But not only have we held on to the position, look at that, we've nearly put a second on them as well. So we could almost get ourselves out of the DRS threat here as George Russell now gets himself up into the points. Carlos Sainz falls outside of that top 10. We get our first objective now of the Grand Prix as well, and we have to try and stay ahead of Esteban Ocon. Now, this is one I immediately know off the top of my head that I am not going to be able to hold on to this one, because as we've seen, it's the moment their nose gets in front, that is it. It doesn't matter if they momentarily get in front, but you still manage to defend and squeeze them on the exit or whatever it is. The moment his nose gets in front, we're going to fail this one. So it's only a matter of time until he's going to catch up within that time limit, and he's going to get ahead of me, which is an absolute shame, but we're going to stay positive. We'll stay positive. We're going to stay positive because look at this. With them battling it out, we do have now a 1 second buffer, but it is now Sonny Hayes that's directly behind us, and so that Apex GP car is absolutely rapid, and we know it's very rapid because there it goes, absolutely flying past us, and see you later, alligator. That is Sonny Hayes now up into second position, and just for good measure, we've hit the back of him now, and we have got a bit of damage to our front wing. So how bad is it? It's bad enough we've had to drop down to third gear through there, and now as we take a look off board, yeah, we're missing the end plate. We're missing the end plate. So, and this is not a circuit, although I was about to say this is not a circuit that we really want to have a bit of front wing damage. Take note back to in the 2025 IRL season. Charles Leclerc got some front wing damage after contact with Lewis Hamilton, and he did pretty well. It almost made that Ferrari better, but that Ferrari was a dumpster. So we'll ignore that as a example because we're in a bit of a better car. We're in the McLaren. This is about the third best car on the grid at the moment, and the Ferrari is about just as good as us. But we'll ignore that for the time being because we've now got a new strategy for us to take a look at, and it is to box a lap earlier. And with the little bit of snaps and the little tiny little things that I've been having as of recently at the moment, trying to get the power down, I feel like that is not going to be a bad shout to come in that 1 lap earlier to try and see if we can't take a fix of that. And at the moment, I am definitely struggling because Hamilton's now got by us, and I am still not able to make any progress to try and stay with Lewis Hamilton, but we're able to just stay within his DRS. But look at this, the other Ferrari, I was just talking about how the other Ferrari, well, the Ferraris are actually a half-decent car on cue. One of them has gone up in smokes, and it's Charles Leclerc. So one Ferrari now remains in this race, and it's in the hands of Lewis Hamilton, who is currently in third position. So not a bad position to be when you're the last one remaining for the team, trying to score the points for the team. The higher the better, obviously. And for ourselves, we're able to hold on to the position with Esteban Ocon. So all that downplaying about the fact that he's going to get by me, all for nothing in the end. Stay positive, Peter. Stay positive. Let's do this. And look at this. We're now, once again, ensuring this battle with Esteban Ocon. We held on to the position through the hairpin. But now, using all of our battery to make sure he doesn't get passed through there, we're now sitting duck on the main straight, and he sweeps on through into the first corner. That is now us down into 5th position. We've got our teammate Lando Norris now directly behind us for company. So how is this going to all continue on? And now on board with ourselves once more. Look at this. So this is the front wing damage now starting to come into real effect, and with the tyre wear as well. Running super wide through there allows Norris through momentarily, but now getting back onto the power, we now fall outside of the DRS from Esteban Ocon, which means it's going to be much harder to try and defend this position from Lando Norris. We squeeze him all the way to the inside, because if there's one person you want to battle even harder than any of your other competitors, it's your teammate. So we make sure we squeeze him all the way to the grass, and we hold on to this position. But I fear we're going to see a rinse and repeat, from Esteban Ocon just a lap ago. We've used all of our battery to try and stay ahead down the back straight, and now we could find ourselves vulnerable, but we managed to hold on to it. And we also see there that this is lap 12. We're boxing this lap, and on our in lap, we're going to get an objective to try and overtake Esteban Ocon. So I think this is more code to try and tell us that we need to push like hell if we're going to try and not lose too much time in our pit stop, because we're also going to be repairing this front wing, because we just can't keep going on with the way this front wing currently is. And oh my god, we've had a massive snap of rear locking, and we've managed to stay ahead somehow. We've made contact with Colapinto now on the exit of the corner, and we've nearly hit the back of our teammate as well as we enter the pits. What is going on? What a sequence of events. We locked up the rears trying to stay with him. Somehow managed to put the car to the middle of the circuit, cut the corner a little bit there to try and avoid any contact. And now we're going to have a slow pit stop. We're nearly wiped out our teammate on the pit entry. Just what is going on? I am just so lost for words at the moment. I don't know what's going on. So let's try and break it down here. So looking back from my car, so Lando gets by us, all fair. And then here comes Franco Colapinto, all fair. We lock the rears. We somehow managed to avoid contact with both of them, at least when we're going through here. We try to rejoin the circuit, but there's a Colapinto there. We hit Franco Colapinto. Now we're trying to get to the pits. We forget that it's on the racing line, and that the cars in front of me are going to be braking, and I nearly rear end the back of my teammate, which could have ended both of our races, to be honest with you. And whoa. Look at the slide job that we've just pulled on there, on Lando, and then we get the contact with Colapinto on the exit, and then how close did we get to hitting the back? Oh, yeah, we don't really want to get too much closer than that, really threading the needle as well. So this is what Franco saw here. So on the outside, he's thinking, oh yeah, I can get one McLaren, now I can try and get two McLarens, and then enter stage right. Here comes Joshua Pearce, and that is going to be the end of his attack. But mind you as well, somehow through all of this, Franco Colapinto still does manage to get both myself and Lando. He's ahead of both of us. Although while we're in the pits, he did get re-overtaken by Lando, and now he's going to get overtaken as well by George Russell. So in the end, hasn't played out as well as he probably would have hoped. But still, the fact that he didn't get wiped out from myself being completely out of control is just props to Franco for that as well. So, but this is now something interesting. Here is Oscar Piastri, your race leader. He's into the lane, so he's trying to protect himself from any undercut from Sonny Hayes, who has continued on, and he's going to come out in a little bit of traffic, but it's not too bad. He's in between Antonelli and Lance Stroll, and now heading down the back straight. He's going to make very quick work here of Kimi Antonelli using the DRS. And that Apex GP car has absolutely sailed by Kimi there, the Italian driver for Mercedes, and he is now up into P6, but it's still going to be a net lead, because look at this, here is Sonny Hayes. He's only just entered the pit lane, so Piastri is going to be able to get himself well and truly back into the lead. In fact, he's already going down the main straight. He's up to second, and there he goes up into first, as Hayes is only just pulling into his pit stall. So there's going to be also a couple of out-of-sync cars that's going to be between the two Apex GP cars. So Hayes will be looking to go on a late race charge here with that one-lap tyre deficit as well. So, but to be able to make this be effective, he has to get through not only Carlos Sainz, but Lance Stroll as well before he can get to his teammate Oscar Piastri to try and battle for the race win. For ourselves, though, we've got our next objective, and it's for us to try and avoid some damage on the front wing. So we've seen how costly it can be on the track when you got a little bit of front wing damage. I really struggled towards the end of that opening stint, and so that is definitely going to be something to watch to make sure I don't get any more contact, and that I can try and get to the end of this Grand Prix with as little contact as possible, because the more contact I'm going to have, obviously, the more damage that the car is going to get. But look at this. This is what the out-of-sync cars are doing. It's causing giant battle packs, and this is only helping myself here, because I'm now going to be able to catch up to the other cars I was battling, which I lost all of the time to while I was getting my front wing replaced. And that's going to be Alex Albon who's going to be the culprit for this. He's holding them all up. So Colapinto, you may have seen, Ocon, you may have seen there, did manage to get ahead of Alex Albon, but with the DRS, Albon got immediately back through, and you can see that I'm also now catching up to the back. I'm trying to keep pull Aaron at bay. But with all these guys battling it out, they're going nice and slow through turn 1. And look at the speed I had in the background, and here I am on cue. Am I going to sneak it down the inside? I think I will. Sneak it down the inside at turn 2. And am I going to be able to hold on to this 9th position? It's going to be an absolutely brilliant move considering how far back I was heading into the corner, and onto the brakes. We're going to get Ocon as well. Why not? Because they're battling out in front. A little bit of contact there with George Russell, immediately contradicting what I was just talking about. But we don't get any damage from it, and look at that. We're now find ourselves up into 8th position ahead of both the Red Bull Fords, and out in front, Sonny Hayes is also trying to make his way through some of the out of sync traffic here, but he has to go around the outside of Lance Stroll, and Stroll is not making this a very easy at all for Sonny Hayes, but he's going to get the job done, and he's Stroll going to immediately pull into the pits. I think he will, and he has immediately pulled into the pits. We're going to try and make it 3 wide onto the grass. Are we going to be able to get both positions done? We absolutely do. We run it a little bit deep, but that's just going to mean we're going to get a pretty good exit here, and that is exactly what's happened. So we now find ourselves up into 5th position now, right behind our teammate Lando Norris. So we've now put ourselves nearly exactly where we were when we came into the pit lane, albeit we've lost a little bit of time to our teammate. We hold on to the position though from George Russell from the attack of the Mercedes, and he's still trying to go at it. Look at this, around the outside at turn 4. Is he going to be able to get this one done? We're given the squeeze on the exit, and we hold on to 5th position, but that squeeze on the exit has now left him vulnerable to Esteban Ocon in that Red Bull Ford, and Ocon is going to try and sweep around the outside, and that is the position gained for the Red Bull Ford. And so what was starting as a opportunistic overtaking opportunity has now turned into a position lost for George Russell, but luckily with the way the DRS works around this Shanghai International Circuit, he has got the opportunity very quickly to use the DRS once again to try and regain that position. But there's a yellow flag now in front of us while they continue to battle it out, and it's Lando Norris. He's in the fence. Our teammate has fenced it late into the race and has brought out the safety car. Now this is going to change the dynamic of this race, because you had the leaders out in front, absolutely sailing away, and then all the battling was for the tail end of the points, and oh no, he just dropped it on the exit of the corner there and put it into the fence, and day done for our teammate there, Lando Norris. But we'll do an order check here because it's a Apex GP 1-2 with Oscar Piastri and Sonny Hayes leading the way, with Hamilton currently on the podium. Myself now up into 4th, taking that position away from our teammate. Then it's Ocon, Russell, Colapinto, Aaron, Sainz and Kimi Antonelli rounding out the points, and the 2 Alpines of Stroll and Gasly. Then it's Gabriel Bortoleto, Verstappen, Bem and Lawson ahead of his teammate Isaac Hadjar, Jack Doohan, Zane Maloney, and Alex Albon rounding out the field. As we now get ready to go green once more in this race. We'll be starting on to a lap 22, so only about 6 laps of racing left to go. And are we going to get the timing right? We haven't had a illegal overtake come up, so I reckon that was absolutely perfect timing to try and get this overtake completed. But we've run deep going into turn 1. Are we going to be able to snag this podium away from Lewis Hamilton? Now down the inside, the 2 Apex GP cars, they're already sailing away in the distance. It's nearly a second to Sonny Hayes already as it clicks over to a second, and this is how perfect our restart was as we head to the control line. You couldn't time it any better if you really tried, I don't think. That was just absolutely perfect, but we're now once again under attack from Lewis Hamilton. We're going to defend going into this corner here, into the hairpin, and we squeeze him out onto the exit, and we managed to hold on it just for a little bit here. But this battle between Russell and Colapinto is once again kicking off as once more with George Russell getting himself back ahead of that Red Bull Ford, who took that position away after we squeezed him out at turn 4. But now, late into the race, we've also got a new objective to try and burn off some fuel. So with that safety car, we weren't using a lot of fuel, so now the car is a little bit heavier than what it should be for these tires, and it's going to increase the tire wear with the heaviness of the car at the moment. So we need to burn off a lot of this time here and fuel at the moment. We go super deep on the brakes to try and keep that position from Hamilton, but look at that, he blocks us. He almost comes to a stop, trying to stop us from taking the position away from him again. And so it's a very wise driving there from Lewis Hamilton, the 7-time world champion. And is he going to be able to pull away from us now? That's the big question. And are we going to have to try and just hold on to a 4th position? But the battle for the lead is now continuing on, because it is Sonny Hayes pulling off an absolute blinder of a move to get himself now up into the lead ahead of Oscar Piastri, his teammate, who has led so far of this race, and he is going to take the lead away with only 4 laps remaining of the race. Further down the field, though, Carlos Sainz and Paul Aaron, this is a battle that was continuing on at the start of the Grand Prix, and here we are, post-safety car, they are going at it once more, and it's Carlos Sainz who gets the position going through the last corner, but now he finds himself vulnerable because he doesn't have the DRS heading down this main straight, and here comes Paul Aaron in the Aston Martin Honda, and he sweeps through to take that 8th position away, and behind, Kimi Antonelli is looking like he is starting to get ready to pounce onto Carlos Sainz as well. We saw in the sprint race as well, Carlos Sainz started fading towards the end a little bit, and oh, that's a lot of smoke, and it's one of the Red Bull Fords. It's Franco Colapinto. He's had an engine failure so late into the race with only 3 laps remaining of the Grand Prix, and he's not going to score any points. He was looking on for a top 6 position, and that is not going to be the case anymore. Lance Stroll, he is now going to be a beneficiary here, trying to go down the inside of Kimi Antonelli. Can he take away P9 away from the Italian driver in the Silver Arrow? He can't get it done. Antonelli, he'll hold on just for now, but holding on, is that going to be the downfall as well? Because now he does have DRS from Carlos Sainz, but I don't think it's going to be enough because Lance Stroll in the Alpine will go around the outside. Antonelli, though, the young gun, he's going to keep it down the inside. He barges his way through past the Canadian, and he's going to hold on to the position. It is all kicking off post safety car. This has ignited this race once more. We achieved the fuel load that we need, so we've got the car back down to about the weight that it needed to be for us to attack these final couple of laps here. And look at this, we're able to gain so much on Lewis Hamilton through turns 1 and 2. Unfortunately, we lose a little bit of it through the middle sector, and then we're able to just hold on with the DRS. But now on the final lap of the race, we've gone deep, and using the DRS, we've got a bit of an exit. Are we able to hold on to this 5th position? Sonny Hayes will cross the line. He's going to take back-to-back victories in Season 4, and we hold on to P4 in this race. Oh my god, that kicked off so much after that safety car.
The checkered flag flies, and Sonny Hayes today can say, I'm a winner.
And that's 2 wins in a row now. It's the start of potentially something special, but they can't get ahead of themselves just yet. It's a long way to go.
We had drama from start to finish, but in the end, there was only ever one that could take that top spot.
So Sonny Hayes now makes it 2 race wins in a row from Australia to China. Oscar Piastri will finish 2nd to make it a clean sweep for Apex GP in both the sprint and the Grand Prix, with Lewis Hamilton in the end holding on to clinch a podium for Ferrari. And not to be on the podium is a little bit disappointing for myself, but I fought to the wire to get that P4, and with Norris crashing out from 4th, maybe that's just where the car was this race weekend. With the rest of the top 10, though, was myself, Esteban Ocon, George Russell, Carlos Sainz, Paul Aaron, Kimi Antonelli, and Lance Stroll, with the Leclerc, Norris, and Colapinto non-finishers. Sonny Hayes extends his championship lead to 19 points ahead of his teammate Oscar Piastri. Hamilton 3rd, 12 points further behind. Myself in 4th, another 3 points behind, and Norris in 5th, only a point behind myself. Apex GP leads the Constructors' Championship by 48 points to Ferrari. McLaren, we're in 3rd, 2 points further behind. And after this weekend, I am now drawing with my teammate battle against Lando Norris. And for our driver ratings, our experience drops to level 94, and Racecraft also loses some points. The awareness, pace, and focus gains points, but my rating to remain at 95, and our driving recognition also remains at 52%. And that is going to be all for this episode. If you did enjoy it, please make sure to like and subscribe. And for the next episode, we have our first secret meeting. Since we signed a 2-year deal at the start of last season, we got 0 of these during Season 3. So this is a little bit of a welcome change of pace to know that we're still kind of wanted around the paddock and that other teams would like our services for the future. But once that has been completed, we head to Bahrain for round 3. I'll see you then.